will be available online later on. Without wasting any more time during this festive season in India, I will go on to introduce our guest speakers today. So Dr. Dominique Babini is from Argentina. She holds a doctorate degree in political science and a postgraduate degree in information science. She is the Open Science Advisor and previously the repository manager at the Latin American Council of Social Science, CLACSO, a network of 700 research institutions, and represent CLACSO at advisory boards in Ridalec and Amelia CA. She is also part of the expert committee of the National System of Digital Repositories in Argentina, UNESCO Open Science Partnership, International Science Council, Scoping Group on the Future of Scientific Publishing, and Open Access India. Her current interests and concerns are related to strengthening regional and international dialogue and cooperation among non-commercial open access open science initiative and infrastructure and its impact in the evaluation of research. Now coming to our second speaker of this evening, well, a very early morning for both of them. So for Dr. Arianna, it is almost 7 in the morning, and for our Dr. Babini, it's 9. So now I will introduce our second speaker, Dr. Arianna Becerril-García. She is a full-time professor and researcher at the Autonomous University of the State of Mexico, UAEM. She is a member of the National System of Researcher (SNI) of Mexico. She holds a PhD and MSc in Computer Science from Tecnológico de Monterrey, Mexico. She holds a BA in Computer Engineering from UAEM. She is a part of the founding team of the network of scientific journals from Latin America and the Caribbean, Spain, and Portugal. So that is we call Ridalec.org, where she is the current executive director. Dr. Becerril is founder and president of Amelia Conocimiento Abierto SC. She is founder of the Mexican Network of Institutional Repositories. She is a member of the steering committee of Invest in Open Infrastructure and board member in SCOS. She is also part of the Council of the Directory of Open Access Journal, DOAJ. So without wasting any more time, I will now request Dr. Babini to take us through this interesting journey on the open access and South-South dialogue. So Dr. Babini, now the floor is yours. Please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Momita Kole and Dr. Silius Nandu for hosting and moderating this presentation and session of questions and answers. Good morning from Argentina and Mexico. Good afternoon for you in India. I will share the screen. Thank you very much. Well, CLACSO, Ridalec and Amelia, we wish to thank the DST Center for Policy Research and the Indian Institute of Science invitation. And in this day, we wish to thank very much Professor Subbiah Arunachalam for his long-standing work on open access issues and his interest in South-South cooperation in open access matters. And also thank you to Madame Mutu and for their work in these matters. We will share this presentation with our three main concerns in this Open Access Week 2020. Our main concerns are related to what we perceive will be a period after this pandemic of underfunding of community-owned infrastructures because scarce funds will be directed to APCs. The action we propose is to recommend prioritizing funding and other resources to be dedicated to non-APCs, BPCs models to support community-based open infrastructures and to certify quality in those open access venues. Our second concern we will share today is about our researchers in developing regions, which are only rewarded when they publish in English in mainstream journals with prestige indicators, making invisible other contributions from our regions. In this concern, we recommend rewarding quality and relevance independent of the publishing venue. And we recommend rewarding researchers who are doing peer review of contents from our community-based infrastructures. Our third concern we are sharing with you today is that we perceive that there is international weak dialogue, cooperation, and interoperability among community-owned infrastructures. We call for more international and South-South collective action in support of community-owned infrastructures. We agree with CORE, the Confederation of Open Access Repositories, that we need a knowledge commons that is more efficient, inclusive, and governed by the scholarly community. A commons with no barriers to access and no barriers to publish research, no APCs. This year, the Open Access Weeks invite us to think about who we are including in our infrastructures of open access, whose voices we are making invisible, which business models we are prioritizing, which interest we are prioritizing in the decisions we take about policies and investments in open access and open science. My screen, there we are. We have now a challenge with open science. If we look at any of these 17 global goals for sustainable development, there is not one goal that does not need as much local as international research, which is the experience we have in Latin America in these past 2 decades of open access. Our region has half the population. We are 22 countries, but we have half the population of your country, India. We have the largest gap between rich and poor. We are the most unequal region of the world. In this period of pandemic, poverty, hunger, inequality have grown each month of lockdown. Research in our region is mainly publicly funded, and also scholarly communications are publicly funded. They are not outsourced to commercial publishers, and unfortunately, evaluation procedures today still reward mainly publishing in English in international high impact factor journals. So the outputs we produce in English in international journals lack regional visibility and access for non-subscribers in our region. And the output we publish in local languages, in local quality journals, lack international visibility. This is our situation. In the past 2 decades, we have developed in Latin America very early open access journals with no APCs. And in the past decades, open access national policies and legislation have given support to repositories at institutional, national, and regional level. In 2013, UNESCO invited representatives from 23 countries, and there it was decided that both the gold and the green routes are suitable for the region. The green route should follow inclusive and cooperative solutions. So to avoid new enclosures, it is not outsourced to commercial initiatives and platforms. It is run by the science policy organizations in each country, the repositories. And regarding gold open access, considering that only 30% of open access journals in the world charge APCs, and that APCs are fixed by international publishers at prices which are just unaffordable in our regions, and that research in Latin America is mainly government funded, and the region has more than a decade of quality journals being indexed by Cielo and Redalic, with today more than 2,000 journals with no APCs. It was recommended in that meeting that gold open access route in the region continues with emphasis in sharing costs to publish and to index and to give visibility to the journals. So who governs the open access landscape in Latin America? We have, in the first place, the journal editorial teams. They manage the open access journals with no APCs. It's sharing costs. It's part of your work in the university. Part of your work is teaching, doing research, and collaborating in the journal of your university. Usually, journals are run in OGS software, Open Journal Systems. Then other community member who governs the open access landscapes are the library teams. The library teams in universities manage the institutional repositories, and they manage the collection of journals from their university. We have several universities in the region which have more than 100 journals each, as is the case of the National Autonomous University of Mexico, the University of Sao Paulo, the University of Chile. It is run also with OGS software. Then we have a level where only open peer review is considered. That is the National Science Policy Organization that manage that level of selection, and they do it in two ways. In each country, they have lists of quality peer review journals. This list is regularly updated and discussed with the academic community. And there is a national repository harvester, which harvests only peer review collections from institutional repositories, because institutional repositories can have a very large amount of contents, open education resources, institutional reports, all kinds of contents. But the national harvester only harvests the sets of data which is peer reviewed. What happens at regional level? At regional level, we have 3 indexing and information systems, Latindex, Redalic, and Cielo, which define and apply quality requirements for journal it evaluates and accepts or rejects. These initiatives are who define the quality standard. So only a percentage of journals are accepted And these indexes are acknowledged as the definition of quality in journals. And in repositories, we have a regional harvester, La Referencia, who works together with CORE and with OpenAir in Europe and CORE at international level. And La Referencia, it's a harvester, and they work with the national repositories. It from 10 countries, and it harvests only the peer review collections. These initiatives, the journals initiatives at regional level and the repositories initiatives, contribute with training, technical support, community building, so that non-commercial open access could advance in the region. I will take one case I know better because I live in Argentina. It's the case of Argentina. How did it start? It started nearly 10 years ago. The Ministry of Science and Technology proposed a legislation for open access. It was approved in the Senate, in Congress, in 1 year later. It requires developing interoperable institutional repositories, which can be individual or cooperative, and for all funded, government-funded research results, which is mainly all research because there's very little private research. And the maximum embargo is 6 months for text and 5 years for data, the maximum time. And how was the policy implemented? It is the Ministry of Science and Technology which invited universities to propose members for an experts committee. We are in the experts committee in the past decade. And what does the experts committee do? The experts committee is integrated by specialists in open access and managers of the running institutional repositories. And they select and adapt the international standards for digital repository. They define the contents to be considered, the requirements to be included. They drafted the open access legislation proposal, and they evaluate repositories who want to be members of the national system of digital repositories. This national system includes all institutional repositories. Members receive training, funding when there is money, technical support, and they promote the regional cooperation with other repositories. We have the country divided in regions. So each region, the universities collaborate and institutes of research collaborate to build cooperative repositories or individual institutional repositories. We have the national harvester, and the ministry is the national focal points for a regional network of repositories. Which is the problem that we have? The problem is that, as I mentioned before, researchers and institutions are rewarded when they publish in English in mainstream journals. We don't even support yet the DORA recommendations or the Leiden recommendations, the Helsinki recommendations. The world is going towards other kind of research evaluation. And in our region, we are going behind. We still reward high impact factor. So we started in Claxo a forum of Latin American research assessment to review the research assessment. And we are discussing with the national research councils in our region. Next Wednesday, 28th, we are having an international presentation of this program for a review of research processes in social sciences. If you want to participate in this discussion, please send me a mail. At the end of the presentation is my mail, and we will send you on Monday the invitation. The Indian Council of Social Science Research will be in the panel, and the panel opening session will be by the International Science Council and UNESCO Social Science Division. And we hope to have Leslie Chan and Jean-Claude Guédon also there in the meeting. I have enjoyed his presentation here in your webinar 2 days ago. Very important concepts. It's always inspiring to hear Jean-Claude Guédon. Well, so this is an invitation from Claxo and Redalica and Amelica that we also cooperate, South-South cooperation for research evaluation. We need to review the research evaluation procedures. If not, there's no future for non-commercial open access and non-commercial open science, because the industry of scholarly communication manages the two parts, the journal selections and the indicators for evaluation. It's a closed box, very well managed. This closed box allowed the journal Nature to announce 2 days ago that they will charge $11,000 for each article you want to publish in open access. How to insert Latin America in global open access when enclosure changes from reading to publishing? What can we do? We consider that the proposals from Plan S and Open Access 2020 are helping the industry to change their model from pay to read to pay to publish. That's very good for the countries where that industry is located. But what happens with all the research institutions and the country which will be excluded from that model? We will going to be able to read, but we will not going to be able to publish. So we have to support open access and open science venues with quality research evaluation included in the contents, so we can value those open access venues and open science venues when we evaluate researchers. This is why we have started an agreement many years ago with Redalica Amelica for Redalica Amelica collection of 1,000 social science and humanity journals, which receive indicators in support of evaluation procedures. I now ask, please, Arianna Becerril to go on with the presentation. This only last mention I want to make. We agree with Mutu Madam, with Siva Shankar Kimidi, with Shubha Gunasakaram and Shubha Arunashalam, when they say that if India, China, and Latin America, we follow a model of community-led open access with no APCs, we can change the global landscape of scholarly communication. We can contribute to a more equitative and inclusive open science and open access landscape. Thank you very much. Please, Arianna, I don't share anymore. Let me know if I have to do something else.
Thank you, Dominique. I'm just sharing my screen now. Please confirm when you see it.
We can see it now.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dominique. Thank you. I'm very privileged to be here today, to have the opportunity to share with all of you our work. particularly from the Redalic and Amelica perspective. And as Dr. Babini rightly pointed out, in Latin America, we have implemented an approach of science as public good. Latin America has this tradition where scientific or scholarly communications belong to academic institutions and not to large publishers. This is a very iconic, and Latin America is a reference for that. In this landscape, there's no fees neither for authors nor for readers. It is a kind of natural open access, immediate open access, in fact, where every institution that supports this ecosystem run journals that are driven by the faculty members inside universities and in different academic institutions. And then that content is made available in open access. So this means that everyone gets benefit from this investment. In fact, it is distribution of cost, which relies in a great part in governments, in public funding, but the benefit is universal for everybody around the world, not only for the Latin American region. So in this sense, Latin America has been supporting this ecosystem that is unrestricted for authors and readers, which is, as I said, academia-owned, with foster immediate open access. It's free of APCs. Another very interesting contribution is that the know-how of the publishing sector is inside the academic. I mean, journals are run by editorial teams inside universities, and students and faculty members and different administrative personnel is working to run a journal. So the know-how belongs to the academic sector, and this is very important. There's also a distribution of cost, as I said before. There's a strong public investment, and perhaps the most important is that the academic community has the control to make decisions, but also to decide the future and how this publishing sector is being shaped. This approach, we really believe that encourages diversity, bibliodiversity. In fact, it is very good for inclusion. We are relying on promoting our local languages as well. And it also allows equitable participation. I mean, an author or reader can participate in this ecosystem, no matter the economical condition of a researcher or any person can be part of it. So in this sense, we have these two approaches. If we can just in terms of making the analysis more easy, we can see science a commodity, which is promoted by university rankings, which is mainly based on impact factor research assessment. And now is this approach being adopted by different countries and different funders in the form of transformative agreements through the payment of APCs and some other fees for authors. So in this sense, only people with the economical capacity to be part of it can be part of it. And on the contrary, on the other hand, we have science as a public good, which is APC-free, which is organically open access. We promote as well that can be technologically leveraged, because we are living in this era where technologies are democratizing not only access, but also the way we can produce contents, and we can produce knowledge, and we can be autonomous in this sense in terms of participating in publishing. It is not impact factor based. So we really believe that there's 4 dimensions that need to be addressed in order to achieve this approach of science as public good, which is research and journal assessment, as Dominique also explained very well, with also the strategy of CRAXO of FOLEC, that it's very important for the region, and we hope for the world as well. We have to continue working in quality, because there's no way to achieve open access and inclusive scholarly communication if we don't care of quality. So we have to keep working on maintaining quality standards. We also believe that it's very important to seek organic visibility and non-proprietary prestige, which is very focused on commercial databases, let's say Web of Science or Scopus, for example, which are considered the mainstream databases to define who is who in the scholarly landscape. So it is important to go beyond those databases and to seek organic visibility. Technologies, information technologies allow us to do that these days. So we can, with technology, with interoperability standards, we can cooperate together technically to expand the visibility of content, of scientific content, in order to detach or dissociate the prestige from the proprietary services. We can also leverage technology for efficiency and sustainability of non-commercial scholarly communications. We believe that we can save time and cost in the production of journals and books with technology. So in this sense, we can help these publishing institutions to do these processes at low cost, and to avoid this outsource or the need to outsource these processes. We can also leverage technology to add different functionalities to give our local languages the opportunity to be part of this ecosystem. We have very good tools for translations and for accessibility for different people with different capacities. So we have to take advantage of that. And as well of initiatives, for example, like the one that is called Linked Open Data. So in this sense, we have to be very critical, and we have to decide which approach will enable equity, bibliodiversity, immediate open access, no fees for anybody, and the control by academic community, and also which approach allows the sustainability of publishing, because we have seen that the commercial approach is not sustainable even for the richest universities in the world. So we have to take advantage of technologies that enable a different scenario, different arena for everybody to play. But we have to be careful with the decisions we are making today inside institutions, inside governments, to really allow the potential of technology to redraw the landscape. In this sense, and I'm going to take just a couple of minutes to talk a little bit about these initiatives. Redalic, which is now an infrastructure that supports academy-owned non-profit scholarly publishing, provides technology, and the idea or the main goal is to share knowledge that contributes to the sustainability of non-commercial open access. Redalic has been designing this model of open access which has these 5 important features, which promotes academia on publishing, immediate open access, technologically leveraged, non-APC, and not for profit. The Redalic is aimed to index a journal, but to provide a journal with different added value capabilities that in other parts of the world are products or services that are sold by commercial publishers. For example, Elsevier is offering journals, many of these services. So in Redalic, a journal, once it is indexed, can have access to different journal production tools to generate XML and different files for publishing. I'm going to talk a little bit about later. It provides also quality certification, metrics, and statistics. Well, particularly, this is the architecture, and I'll come back to our numbers. So we provide in this architecture of services, this first layer, or the base of our architecture, is this layer focused on quality. We have quality criteria, which is public. You can go to the Redalic webpage and you can see the set of criteria that we follow to make sure that a journal is fulfills this criteria. We have a process to evaluate the journal, and we have also an advisory board that is composed of researchers from many different countries and different areas to guarantee that we have only quality journals in this index, which is the base of the Redalic architecture. And above this, we have different services regarding editorial workflow that helps or contributes in terms of efficiency and sustainability for electronic journals. In this sense, we provide these services to get to make the workflow more efficient based on XML and the JATS standard, which is a standard for full text articles, in order to have every element tagged in a structured content, in a structured file that can be easily processed and can be disseminated in a better way, because we have for example, every equation, mathematical expression, every image, the content of tables, all the data that is inside an article can be tagged in order to be disseminated and to be processable maybe in other tools. So in this sense, we are working through the discoverability, or to enhance the discoverability of content on the web. We also help journal editors to get automatically different file outputs like PDF, HTML, EPUB, and different viewers for desktop and for mobile devices that can be downloaded into the websites of journals. So in this sense, Redalic is helping in lowering the cost of this editorial workflow. We also provide different capabilities for full text retrieval. So we have search engines, different filters, and full text content by author, institution, countries, areas, journals, and different regional collections. In fact, we have now starting to accept journals from other regions. We have now one journal from India as well, working with this technology. And for us, it's very important to extend the benefits of this architecture, which has been developed in the Autonomous University of the State of Mexico, which it has been built with public money in Mexico and with different contributions from Latin American countries. So it is very important for us to allow this South-South cooperation and to extend the benefits of this infrastructure if a journal feels or the need to have the services, can have it now. And we have also this layer for metrics to also to contribute in finding new ways of research assessment. And well, finally, this layer with that we want, we are seeking to have semantic collections to take advantage of semantic technologies and web semantic, and in this sense, to widespread the content all around the world in an organic way. These are the automatic file generation that we have with one click. You can have, as journal editor, you can have all these file formats for you to have it in your own websites. These are, sorry about, yeah, these are our numbers today. More than 1,000 index journals from 31 countries, from more than 600 published institutions, mainly universities, almost 1 million full text articles. We provide a service to more than 60,000 users, which are downloading and reading the content in the platform. So in this sense, Redalic seeks to extend the services to other institutions, and this is why Amelica started 2 years ago, in fact, to take these services to other journals as well that are in the process of consolidation and that currently cannot reach the standards that are required by Redalic, but that can take this technology to reach them, and also to add some other services for open science. For example, we have been working with repositories, with research assessment as well, and other communities that we have built together with other institutions. For example, with the institution of the National University of La Plata in Argentina, with Claxo, of course. It is an initiative that is led and supported by UNESCO, Claxo, and Redalic, of course. So in this sense, together, we want to assure that we can continue working under this approach of science as public good, that we can continue developing technology to seek this organic visibility, discoverability, and to go beyond citation or traditional citation venues to seek impact of science in a more organic way, where every single piece of information could be part of a GN graph. This GN graph that could be an unrestricted knowledge cloud. Technologies allow us to do that these days. So we really believe we can do it if we cooperate among all the institutions that are rely on this model beyond commercial venues, which are naturally excluding our regions. So for us, we have learned from the Latin American publishing tradition that it is possible to run this tradition in a not-for-profit basis with non-APC, in a cooperative approach where everyone gets benefit from everyone's investment. And we have also learned from Latin America that journal publishing in hands of the academic sector, it's healthier for achieving inclusive scholarly communications. And in this sense, Redalic and Amelica, as well with Claxo, UNESCO, and different institutions, we are focusing our efforts on preserving this academy-owned non-commercial publishing by these two strategies, leveraging technologies to contribute in journal sustainability, and by developing software and enhancing data to contribute in content's organic visibility and discoverability. So in such a way that impact and research assessment are dissociated from commercial databases. We think it is possible, and we really believe we can cooperate more with you. And I think this is a great starting in this cooperation. And thank you very much for the opportunity to share these ideas with you.
Okay, Thanks a lot, both Dr. Babini and Professor Garcia, for such a wonderful presentation about the open access landscape of Latin America. Uh, we are really overwhelmed, and there is so much to learn, and we are particularly excited to explore options for more collaboration between India and Latin America. So we strongly believe that that is a collaboration that really can make the open access happen in India, of course, where you already have succeeded quite a bit in there, but now it's our turn to make some success in there. And also, I would like to mention that among us, there are librarians who are also very active in the open access area. So, with us today, we have Dr. Francis Jacquand, who is who is a scientific officer at the Indian Institute of Science Library, and also, of course, we have Mr. Madan Muthu among us. Maybe they would, of course, like to make some comments. Okay, so now I will request Dr. Shurius to open the floor for question and answer session. Suryas, over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Momita, and thank you, Dr. Babini and Professor Garcia. It was really enlightening talk. Now I open the floor for discussion. Please use the hand raise signal located at the top of the panel to ask your questions. Also, please be brief in the interest of time. I will call out your name, and while asking your question, you can turn on your video and introduce yourself. Please also mention who this question is directed towards among the two speakers. I will also urge you to ask your questions slowly and clearly. Also, if you want to use the chat box to write the question, you are welcome to do so. I will read it out. Please keep in mind, we intend to finish on time around 6:40. Okay, so I open the floor for the questions. I see Dr. Francis's hand raised. Yes, Dr. Francis, please go on and ask your question.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Suresh, and thank you, Dr. Babini and Dr. Garcia for the wonderful presentation. My question is my name is Francis. I'm from Indian Institute of JRD Tata Memorial Library, Indian Institute of Science. My question is to Dr. Babini. Now, Argentina is one of the probably one of the only country in the world which has a national open access policy. So I would like to know what has been the compliance rate with respect to the open access mandate in Argentina.
Thank you, Dr. Francis, for your question. We in Argentina are among the several countries in the world that have open access policies, as we can see in ROAR map. There we can find a description of the different countries that have open access policies. In Latin America, we have open access legislation and policies, legislation in Mexico, in Peru, and in Argentina. The compliance is stronger in theses, in master and doctorate theses, and in research reports, and is weaker for articles published in the mainstream circuit. This is due to the fact that institutions do not know how to deal with the publishers, with commercial publishers. So our idea is that this has to be solved at national level. Once the embargo period is over, the governments should require that the articles published by authors from their country should be exported by the commercial publishers to the national institutional repositories. And the national institutional repository should distribute all these collections to the universities where authors are working. So this is the challenge we have. And the compliance is mainly difficult in that part for articles which have been published in journals from the commercial circuit. But but this is due to lack of information about the right that the legislation and the policy gives you to ask for the articles of your university authors. So we consider that this has to be solved at national level by the governments.
Yeah, Dr. Suresh, I just have a follow-up question. Can I?
Sure, sure.
Yes, please.
Okay. Now, such of those articles which are published in English language, is there an attempt in the Latin American countries to translate such articles into Spanish or any other local language? And is there, I mean, I'm sure the publishers won't be supportive of that.
Thank you for your question. We support publishing research results in your language, in our own language, in our own quality journals. But there are many disciplines where publishing takes place mainly in international journals and in English. To translate those articles to Spanish or to Portuguese in Brazil is very, very expensive. So you can find a percentage, a low percentage of institutions who are covering the cost to publish in both languages. In journals in our region, which are using English and Spanish or Portuguese, or translating the articles they have published in international journals. But this is very difficult to have a budget for translating systematically, and we are confident that in a few years' time, the automatic translation will help us feeling free to publish in our own languages.
Thank you very much.
Thanks to you.
Thank you, Dr. Babini, for so comprehensively answering the question. So now next we have question from Sridhar Gautam. He has written in the chat box, and if you are comfortable, Sridhar, you are invited to ask your questions directly. If not, then I'll just read them out. Okay. So yes, not. Yeah. So his question is to Dr. Garcia. His first question is to Dr. Babini. How about he wants to ask about the predatory journals in your region in Latin America, in Argentina? What is the situation there, and how are you dealing with them? So that's his first question.
Well, in Latin America, we don't have the problems of predatory journals because we don't have APCs. It is the commercial. It is money that has perverted the system. If there is no money, who would have interest in creating predatory journals? So the problem would be much smaller if there would be no money in open access. It is the commodification of knowledge which has led to predatory publishing. So we consider that we need universities to take care of the quality of their journals, national science organizations to build the list of quality open access journals of each country, and then the regional indexing systems to also build quality collections. And then predatory is out of this. you will be rewarded if you publish in a quality journal, independent if the quality journal is published in your region or in other regions of the world. Because we have in India and in Latin America, we have international journals, because there is international participation in the editorial committee, in the authorship, in the readership.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Babini. His next question is to Professor Garcia. So he wants to know your comment on something that he mentioned. He said when he talks about the non-commercial model, the top managers always say that there is nothing free and someone has to fund, and the government is not ready, so we are going with the publishers. So he wants to know your comment on this statement.
Thank you very much for the question. That, in fact, this is a key question, very interesting, because this is sometimes, well, the general response from governments who believe that they cannot support this non-profit sector because somebody has to fund. It is not free for everyone. Somebody has to fund it. But in this case, we believe that if universities and governments can invest in this sector, it is considerably cheaper than doing the payment of subscriptions. Just for put it in perspective, in the case of Mexico, we are publishing 200 journals, quality journals, that reach international standards, and this investment takes around $6 million per year. For the same case of Mexico, Mexico is spending more than $65 million only for subscriptions for few journals and for few articles. So in this sense, the investment in the nonprofit sector is considerable cheaper, but also it provides this universal benefit, not only for the whole Mexican society, but also for the world. So in fact, this is different. The equation is, and the math, it's really advantaging governments if you can see really the numbers.
Thank you very much, Professor Garcia. So next we have Professor Abhinandan from our center. Please, Professor Abhi, go on and ask a question.
Yeah, this is Abhinandan from the DST Center for Policy Research at the Indian Institute of Science. And this question is for both the panelists. This is regarding the history behind these initiatives. From your presentations, it is clear that Latin American countries have really succeeded in putting in place these infrastructures and also striking out a different path from the rest of the world. So my question is, what is it about the history of this movement in Latin America, which is different from the experience in other countries? To put it in a slightly different way, what are the reasons for your successes, and also what are the reasons for the not so successful experience in other countries which are similarly placed? Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
So anyone can start answering?
Yeah, if I may, thank you. Well, it's a very interesting question too. Thank you very much for asking. Well, from my perspective, the key in the success of this ecosystem or scholarly communications in Latin America compared to, for example, Europe, let's say, in this sense, we believe the key is the control that the community, the academic community, is willing to have or willing to to waste. I mean, in this sense, if universities are responsible and keep investing in publishing and can have in their hands the ability to define the future of scholarly communication, we think this is the key, because in European universities, for example, they have outsourced a lot of parts of in the circuit of generation of knowledge. They are more dependent on commercial services for seeking information, but also for collaborate with other researchers or to measure their own activity. All of these services are associated with commercial services, and I think this is very worrying in the sense that they lack of these infrastructures or these services in their own universities and in their own countries. So they have to rely on commercial publishers to acquire these services. So it is very important to invest in infrastructure, to invest in universities, to have these kind of services inside or in control of the academic community.
I would like to add, thank you for the question. I completely agree with Arianna's reply. And scholarly communication is only a little fraction, between 1% and 2% of the cost of research. So if our governments are covering research costs to communicate the research results in quality open access venues is only a small fraction. And that is a community way of doing it, not outsourcing to commercial parts, doing it ourselves, as the university did in Europe and North America before outsourcing to commercial publishers 50 years ago. So, and we see many, many experiences in Europe and also some in North America. In Canada, we see many initiatives. And in Africa, you have Africa Journals Online, and you have the world of repositories every place in the world. So this community-led open access model is being adopted worldwide, but the lobby and the pressure of the prestige industry is very, very strong to push forward, to push so that the future of open access and open science are also outsourced to commercial initiatives. That's the tension we perceive. So the success in our region, we attribute it to the community-owned infrastructure and community-led open access. And the challenge and the difficulties are due to the pressure of the industry, the international scholarly communications industry and the international prestige industry, which are linked one to another, pushing open access future to be an APC model and with strong participation of the industry. Thank you for the question.
Thank you very much, Dr. Babini, and thank you, Professor Rabi. Next, we have a hand raised from Mr. Madan. Please go ahead and ask the question.
Thank you. This is Madan, and thank you very much for your time and for the wonderful presentations. As I noticed, the focus was more about journals. Of course, journal is the main medium of communication in many disciplines. However, as you are from social science discipline, social sciences area, there are many areas within social sciences where the scholarly monographs, scholars communicate, write often scholarly monographs rather than writing articles. And some disciplines like computer science, where the conference proceedings dominate, play a huge role in scholarly communication. What are the strategies to accommodate these these communities in this open access framework in Latin America? This is my first question. And this, I would like to know more about the event, particularly specifically that is going to be organized very soon with participation from Indian Council of Social Science Research. I would like to have more information about that event. Thank you.
Hello, Madam Mutu. Nice to see you again. Very nice to see you.
Very nice to see you.
If you put your mail in the chat, then we will send you from Claxo and Redalica and Amelica the invitation for next Wednesday. Thank you so much for the question that Arianna and myself will answer. It's a very, very good point, very important point. We consider at Claxo that the open science, the transition from open access to open science will help us give visibility to all the other voices and outputs and formats that are published and that are communicated in all sciences. Because if we look at social science, agriculture, health sciences, we have many contents, local contents, which are very, very important and that are not included in peer-reviewed journals. We have a fantastic opportunity with open science, because if you look at the draft of the recommendations of open science by UNESCO, the draft is already being discussed, then you can see that it goes toward multilingualism, to biodiversity. As you mentioned, books are very important in social sciences. As an example, the catalog of books of Claxo, we have 3,000 books, are all in open access. And it's a very interesting work because it's done by the library in collaboration with the editorial team. The editorial team prepares the books with the researchers. The book, the digital format goes to the library that inputs it into the digital repository, and when the books is announced, it is already in the repository. So, and the repositories in Latin America have proceedings from conference, have all kinds of materials. And in open science, all that diversity will be a good contribution. Arianna, please.
Thank you, Dominique. I just want to add that, yes, we totally agree that there's other ways of communication findings, and in this sense, for the social sciences and humanities, which I forgot to mention, but with the league also is more focused on social sciences. We have 75% of our content from social sciences and the humanities. And with Amelica, we are working in extending the publishing technology that we are working now with journals. But we are now implementing these methodologies and software with the production of books and monographs. So very soon we will have news for doing this job, and we believe that we can also lower the cost for monographs production to avoid this outsourcing of these processes, for example, and to get these structured content in order to be disseminated wider in the web for the case of monographs. With Amelica, we are working on that. We would be very happy to work with you and have your ideas and to start working together in terms of making this software and this initiative broader. So the invitation is open for anybody who wants to explore these initiatives. We will leave our information of contact for you to have more interaction with you later this event. Thank you.
Many thanks. Many thanks. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Professor Garcia and Dr. Babini. So I still see hand raised from Mr. Madan. I think that's from the last question. So if there are no more questions, I have one. It is about what kind of, you already touched upon this. So what kind of institutional mechanisms that can be built between India and Latin American country and as a region as a whole to support open access in general? Should there be more linkages between the universities, the science academies, or the governments? And what should be the most optimal mechanism according to you to further the open access agenda in our among our countries and regions? Anyone can answer.
Do you want to start, Arianna? Oh, well, I start. We consider there's possible cooperation and interoperability at diverse levels. We can, from CLACSO, we can help India Ministry of Science and India Institutes of Policy to link to ministries in Latin America who are negotiating with publishers, with ministries of Latin America who are running the national repositories, with Redalic, you're already now in contact. I mean, we can help building the bridges between India and Latin America. And there are international movements of promoting community-led open access. UNESCO has started last year a global alliance of platforms which are scholarly led for open access. So that's a place where India can join, so it can speak to other community-led initiatives in Europe, in America, in Africa. We have to strengthen the voice of non-commercial open science and open access. All together we have to do it if we do not want open access and open science to be just a market. Thank you very much for your question, Dr. Suresh.
Thank you, Dr. Babini.
Well, from my point of view, I just add that there's no other way beyond cooperation for our countries. In these days where planners and these big deals of institutions with big corporations, and that we are seeing the big funding flows that are going to the corporations' pockets. So the only way we can succeed is to cooperate together and to share our strengths and to continue evolving in this non-commercial landscape. So that is why I really celebrate this event, to know us each other and to start this cooperation, because I really believe this is the only way we can succeed in terms of inclusion and in terms of achieving equitable participation in the scientific conversation.
Thank you very much, Professor Garcia. I think Professor Arunachalam has a question. If you do, please, you can ask now. Turn on your mic. And if not, then maybe we can move towards ending this session. Yes, Professor Arunachalam, please go ahead.
This is more of a comment than a question.
Sure.
Latin America has entered into a partnership with the CORE and Open Air, both European organizations, some time ago, which is very interesting because the standards they expect may be different. The kind of work they do and you do may be different, and so on. This is one. The second one is even more interesting. This morning, when I opened my email, there was one from Heather Joseph of Spark. She saw our announcement about these events that we are holding at our center, and she told me that if we are promoting green open access, well and good, because what you do may influence US policy. There is a probability that the United States may also soon adopt a green open access policy. This is what she told me.
Oh, how nice to see you.
This is for celebration today.
For celebration, really. Thank you for giving us such a good news, and nice to say hello, Arun. And thank you for so many decades we have been sharing our concerns and our news and our experiences in both the regions. Thank you so much. We learned. You are inspiring, really, Arun, and thank you for this good news of Heather Joseph from Spark. Fantastic, fantastic. As soon as you have more news, please let us know, Arun.
Yeah, I will.
And thank you for inviting us and for thinking of us so that we can build a stronger voice of non-commercial open access and open science, because if not, open science will happen the same thing. It will be caught by the market. So thank you for all your work on this. Arun, we are lucky because this presentation, we were told, is recorded, and we can send it to the Indian Council of Social Science Research, who will come on Wednesday to the discussion about the review of evaluation procedures. We will send you the invitation also, Arun, yes? If you want to join, it would be a privilege.
Sure. Please share the material with us.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Arunachalam and Dr. Babini. Indeed, this video is being recorded, and its link will be shared on our social media and other communication channel. It would also be put on our website. So this is indeed a time for celebration. In India, we have the festival season going on right now. And and on that note, I would like to start my vote of thanks. So I would like to thank the audience for many thought-provoking questions, which made our engagement with Dr. Babini and Professor Garcia even more interesting. Of course, a special thanks to both our speakers for taking out times from their busy schedule to deliver such wonderful lectures. We have so much to ask, discuss, and learn from both of you. But in the interest of time, unfortunately, we have to end the session here. But we must continue to build the solid partnership between India and Latin America on open access and other social and scientific issues. Next, I would like to convey my sincere gratitude to Professor Arunachalam. Without him, this whole event would not have been possible. I would also like to thank Professor Avinandanan for his constant support and engagement throughout the whole process. Thanks to our Open Access Week organizing team members, Mr. Madan, Momita, Mahua, Venkat, Hamida, Nimita, and Janita.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Suresh. Thank you, panel. Thank you.
We wish you all a great day, great evening, great morning, depending on where you are, and have a great rest of the week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So much. Yeah.
Bye, and we hope for more such engagements in future.